ones that looked the oldest were roofed with stone slabs. Others of more recent date were covered with tiles that had either weathered to a faded pink or else to a yellowish gold colour. To prevent them being whisked away by some freak wind, stones the size and shape of footballs were disposed along their outer edges in what looked like a rather dangerous fashion for anyone standing below if one of them rolled off. As soon as we had taken all this in, without even seeing the interior, we both knew that this was the house we had been looking for, and this was the house we would have to have if we were ever going to have one at all. The first door we came to had an orange tree growing up a wall to one side of it. When Signora Angelina finally succeeded in turning the key in the lock and we went inside, the door shut on us and we found ourselves in what would have been complete darkness if the door had not been riddled with holes through which the sun shone in long, slender beams, as if someone had fired a shotgun at the door. Yet although it looked as if it was on its last legs, and one of the first things that would have to be replaced if we bought the house, this door was still there in the same condition when we finally left I Castagni 25 years later. What we were now standing in was a room about 15 feet long, 10 feet wide, and 6 feet high. What had been a stalla, a cowshed, or a stable for mules, or possibly both. Until very recently, the principal means of moving supplies from one place to another in the mountainous areas of Italy had been by pack mules, hand carts, or slitte, big wooden sledges with sides made of wattle, wooden stakes interwoven with split branches, usually drawn by cows. For the rest, it was what people could carry on their backs. A few years before we arrived, the asphalt road had not existed. All there had been in those days was a steep, cobbled mule track which went straight up the hill from Caniparola to Fosdinovo, and stretches of this ancient route still existed and were still used by local people travelling on foot. The floor of the stalla was also cobbled, with thin rectangular stones laid edge to edge. Iron rings for tethering the animals were sunk in the rough stone walls in the back part of the stalla, and there was still a good deal of dung lying about, but so dry and powdery that it was impossible to know what sort of animal had produced it. The only illumination, apart from what was provided by the self-closing door with the holes in it, came from a small barred window that looked out towards the bridge over the Torrente, some 30 yards away. Overhead, a trap-door with a ladder opened up into a room which had been a fianile, a hayloft. The fianile was almost twice the height of the stalla and much brighter, the light entering it through a large opening in one of the walls through which the hay had been forked up into it. Other illumination was provided by gaps in the tiled roof, where the rain had been coming in. Every bit of timber in these two rooms, beams, ceiling joists, and floorboards, was riddled with wormholes, and you could break bits off as if they were biscuits. Further investigation was made impossible because someone had had the truly devilish idea of more or less filling the fianile with large coils of heavy wire, of the sort used to set up trellises in vineyards, each of which was inextricably interlaced one with another. The only other way in was round the back of the house, where there was another door, literally in mid-air, which needed a ladder to get to it. Meanwhile, as we were taking all this ruin in, lizards, no doubt deluded by the mild November weather into thinking spring had come, or was it still summer, scuttled about upside down on the tiled roof, through which daylight was only too visible. Looking at it, I felt that one of us would only have to emit one really hefty sneeze to bring the whole lot, beams, floorboards, ceiling tiles, joists, roof tiles, and all, down about our heads. On one beam there was the skin cast by an adder. Every year, even when the beams were put in order, the adder, or one of its descendants, continued to shed its skin in the same place. If the first two rooms were like this, what on earth would the others be like?